get to do this now. What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. It has been quite a while, and in the last few weeks, few months that I've been not recording, not, active in this community, a lot has happened in the world. A lot of crazy things, a lot of crazy changes, and I've got a few thoughts on them too. A 20-year-old college student who was just across the bridge in New York City, being an NYU student, it is weird to see everything that was going on, and now here we are. So let's kind of just jump into it. I have a few different points that I want to go over, a few different thoughts on how NYU handled it, how my job handled it, how I feel about everything going forward. There will be some fact, there will be some opinion. I'm going to try and save the opinion piece until the end, but, it might get a little jumbled up. Please don't fact check me. I'm probably not going to be 100% accurate, and I apologize for that. So, the week before spring break, that was... Hold on, because I clearly don't remember my dates. Today is the 27th. My spring break started March 15th, that Sunday. So the week before that Tuesday the 11th, we got an email, because this was when everything in New York was starting to get bad. Everything was starting to get a little, nerve-wracking. Is it safe to ride the train? Is it safe to take the bus? Is it safe to be outside? So we get an email from the president of NYU. He basically went on to say, class in New York will resume as planned until through Tuesday, March 10th. Afterward, we will switch to online learning and cease all in-person interaction. This was after Columbia, Fordham all started to shut down their in-person lectures because of fears of spreading the virus. I think actually Columbia had done theirs before or after finding out that a faculty member contracted coronavirus. So they were already taking, okay, we're going to stop doing that. We're going to take a deep breath. Everyone come back next weekend. We'll see how we're doing. Obviously, being that I'm here now, there's more to the story. So the original plan for NYU was we're going to take the week after spring break and basically see if it is safe to go back. It was kind of a high hopes thing. After receiving that initial email, I decided that it was best to bring some stuff home, bring as much as I could home for the time being, because I figured that I'd probably be home for a little while. And lo and behold, we get a follow-up email during spring break. That I can pull up right here. We get an email on March 16th. So to keep the time frame sort of in sync, that is that Monday. We're not even through spring break yet. We had just started spring break, and they send us an email that says, "Hey, we're closing the residence halls. Get your things. Get out." They wanted us out before the beginning of the following week of spring break, at the earliest, and everyone who can grab their stuff can grab their stuff. Everyone who was already flying home had to get their stuff shipped. Everyone who can't go home is still in the dorms. So I have a few thoughts on that before we move on to topics of education and so on and so forth with my job. I feel like NYU handled this super poorly. I feel like the delay in getting the information out when Columbia and other universities were already pushing to keep their students informed. I understand there was a lot of pressure in following, seeing what everyone else was doing, waiting to hear from government officials, because even the government was a little hesitant on making this a pandemic in the States, which, I could go on and on about the government, but that's not what we're here for. And the fact that they closed down the dorms was bad for a lot of students. Personally, I had two roommates who were not from the United States. They were international students. And if you close down the dorms, and they, thankfully, to my knowledge, they were given exemptions and were just moved into isolated areas. In a recent update email, I saw something about, or maybe I saw it on the NYU subreddit, they were moving students into specific dorms. Like, they were putting more students in a focused areas where they could keep track of everyone, and they were putting everyone in like singles to make sure that there was no risk of contamination. The problem was these two students could not get home. There's too many travel bans, too many travel risks, too much quarantining. So they are still in the city. My other roommate and I are fortunate enough to live in the States. I'm just across the bridge. He was further in New York State. So we are home. As you guys can tell, I'm back in my room, back in the original studio. But yeah, I feel like NYU could have done a better job keeping their students informed, keeping their students on top of things. Did they do things correctly? Yes. I feel like switching to online for the rest of the semester, fantastic idea. There was probably little to no chance of us getting back this week or even next week. I feel like the extension, and also to make everything pass-fail, or the majority of the classes pass-fail, I didn't really read the fine print. They announced that through May 12th, which is basically the end of the semester, you can choose to make your courses pass-fail, which is phenomenal if you feel like the online experience is going to be difficult for you, which I have strong opinions, I think, on that. So the online courses, as you may have seen on social media, or you may have heard from whoever you talk to that is currently doing online courses, is through mainly, if you need to, Zoom conferencing. I feel like it is a not fantastic platform. I feel like this platform is a difficult experience to learn through because you have internet latency. You have students who will mute their mics and turn off their cameras and not interact with the class in general. And it creates a rough transitioning experience. Had I solely been taking online courses before all of this happened, I would have been a little less complainy. But especially with, and it doesn't sound as big or important, but especially with a recitation, because if you need to discuss lectures with people and the people are, or they're just not there, what's the point? It makes it harder for me to learn, and it makes it harder for the class to flourish, I guess. My biggest fear for my recitation right now is my TA wants to put us in breakout groups, which apparently you can do that in Zoom. You can split people off however you want. And if I'm stuck with a group of people who are just, then we're going to get back together and I'm going to be like, well, that's great. Really learned a lot there. Yeah, that's really how I feel about NYU. I'm happy to be home. I'm happy to be in a safe environment. I would much rather not be in the city. And then let's transition into talking about Starbucks and how they've handled it. So initially, Starbucks was proceeding as planned, as normal, just like another business day. Wasn't really great, but what could they do? I would still go to work, even when I was home for a few days. The first few shifts that I had scheduled before everything started to get worse, I had to commute into the city to go and fulfill my shift. Moving forward from that, we had issues regarding curfews. Eventually, New York Governor Cuomo said that all non-essential workers should stay home. Governor Murphy in New Jersey put a curfew of 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. The tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut agreed that everything should be open from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that created a tough situation for Starbucks. Starbucks made the smart decision to close 50% of their stores and then ultimately close all stores that could not switch to a solely drive-through experience. For me, that means that I am currently not working. The Starbucks that I was working at in the city had no drive-through option because I don't think there are, between you and me, I don't think there's a single drive-through in New York. And I'm pretty sure, I don't need to pretend like it's a secret fact. Going forward, that meant that I could not work and that all the stores around me here home in New Jersey were at an increased capacity, an increased risk of, touching someone or bumping into someone, and an increased risk in customer experience because you have cars circling around like sharks now. The few drive-thrus I've been past, there have been several that were just out on the highway, out on the street, looping the parking lot twice. It was terrible looking. So I am currently idle. It's not a great feeling. It's not a terrible feeling because it gives me time to step back and acknowledge where I'm at, what's next, and where I will be. So going forward with Starbucks, props to them for giving their employees the encouragement that they do not need to work, but if they do work, you will be rewarded for working. So good, thanks for that. Thanks for the increased benefits in a potential time of need. And thanks for supporting us if we choose not to work. So I do appreciate you for that. You've definitely stepped up. Unfortunately, I ripped them in a previous podcast episode, which, by the way, if you do not already watch the Lowballers podcast, the link will be in the description down below for the Lowballers podcast. You can find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes now, and am I missing one? No, go check us out. I do now, taking a step forward as a college student who is employed by Starbucks, I do appreciate what they are doing. So if anybody who works for Starbucks sees this, I'm sorry for the rip, and thank you for doing your work, and thank you for making it easier for us. Let's do some closing thoughts then. I think we're on a good note here. My final takes on everything going on is be smart about this. This is a pandemic. This is something that we as a nation, we as a people, and we as a livelihood globally need to take seriously, and it is something that we need to work on together. There's no point in splitting up. There's no point in not caring, not listening to anybody. This is all about making what is important now. If we want to get something done, if we want to get back to any sense of quote-unquote normalcy, we need to agree that social distancing has to happen. Yes, it is tough. Yes, it is weird. But in order to prevent the virus from getting worse, in order to make a better stand, in order to have a better chance at not infecting loved ones who are elderly, loved ones who are immunocompromised, loved ones who can't defend like I might be able to, or any of my friends might be able to. We will get to a point where things will be better, but things will definitely be different. Whether that be in the food industry, in the fashion industry, in the political, economic, health industries. Thanks for watching this whole bit. I know this was a bit of a weird video, but I wanted to put my take in on coronavirus and how it's affecting me. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it off on that. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe, and who knows, maybe we'll make this talk thing a little more regular. Peace out.